Okay, so what do we have questions on? Nia? Number one. Hey, if you're going to start, number one is a good place to start. William, please put that away. No. So it says, determine if this statement is true or false. The expression 2x minus 12, does that factor to 2 times the quantity x minus 12? What did you say? Or you have no idea?
I say it's 2 versus x minus 6.
Okay, so you are saying that is false. And you think it is 2 times x minus 6? Okay, what do you guys think about our answer? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Up.
Thumbs down? Up? A lot of no thumbs? Well, let's look over here, because if this was like that, I could distribute, right? And when I distribute, I get 2 on the outside times x, which is 2x, minus 2 times 12, which is 24. And that definitely is not the same as this, so it's definitely false. And then when I factor it out, my greatest common factor is 2. So dividing by 2, I get 2 times x minus 6. So that, it is correct what she said. It is false, and it should be 2 times x minus 6. Okay? Here's what I would suggest. If you're not sure and they give you this factored form, use distributive property and see if you get the same answer or not. Okay? All right. Next question. Anybody have a specific question? Or I can just go in order. Go in order? All right. Number 2, determine if this statement is true or false. The difference of squares is a squared minus b squared equals quantity a minus b and quantity times quantity a plus b and quantity. What do you think? True or false? That is true. Yes, this is the difference of 2 squares. Difference means we are subtracting.
Yeah.
And a squared is definitely a square, and so is b squared. And when you look at this, and if you take the square root of each of these, which I didn't show you guys this, but I've seen this elsewhere now. If I put a 2 here, it's like the 2's cancel out. Taking the square root of something squared, the 2's cancel out. So I'm left with just a minus b times quantity a plus b. Because this was your a squared minus b squared, and when you take the square root, the a's go here, which is the square root of whatever you have, and the b's go here. So that is true. All right, let's go to number 3. Determine if this statement is true or false. The first step of factoring is to draw the box. True or false?
False.
False. What is the first step?
8 equals
Mm-mm. Look for a GCF. Yes. When you're talking about factoring, the first step is to always look for the greatest common factor. Okay? Greatest common factor. All right. Now we have some multiple choice, and actually yours is not quite like this.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
What do you have for the first one? X, what? Right here. What do you have right here? In that position.
Oh,
X says 1 times x.
X plus 72?
Yeah.
What's in the next one below it?
1 times x plus 18.
Okay, and over here?
I don't know.
Must be-
Parentheses not on here, but it's just x minus 6.
Okay, and right here it's probably X plus 6?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like you got cut off.
Okay. Well, we took them off and we just said we wanted to see your work. Kind of. Yeah. Anyway. So looking at this, this does not have 3 terms, so I can't use Xbox. Well, we actually could. Uh-huh.
You recorded it?
I am. Yes, thank you.
Aye.
So as I look at this, this is subtraction of x squared in the first position and 36. So this is that difference of 2 squares. Okay, difference of 2 squares. So if I take the square root of this, these are going to cancel out, and so the square root of x squared is going to be x. And if I take the square root of 36, that is going to be 6. This was my a value, this was my b value. So I'm going to say x minus 6 times x plus 6. That's my final answer. So the 2 things I would circle would be these 2 factors. So you have to take the square root of them. The square root of the first one, a squared, the square root becomes the a value. It goes in the first position. And the square root of the second one becomes your b value, and that goes in the second position. 1 is minus, 1 is plus. Any questions on 2 or 4? Because they both have to do with the same thing. All right, let's go down to number 5. Find all factors of 4x squared minus 36. And we just said, what's the first thing we do when we're factoring? We look for a GCF. Do I have a GCF for 4x squared minus 36? Yeah, what would it be?
The GCF would,
What did you say? What were you going to say?
no, we did.
Yeah, it's 4. Always look at your smallest number and see if it can divide into the other numbers. So we can divide by 4. We can divide by 4. That 4 is what gets factored out first. So 4x squared divided by 4. All I have left is the x squared minus, what's 36 divided by 4? 9. And you're like, oh, you're like looking at this, and you're like, this looks like a difference of 2 squares. And yes, it is, again. So we need to take the square root, So the x squared and the square root cancel out. So that's going to leave me with an x here. And the square root of 9 is 3. So this becomes 4. You just keep bringing the 4 with you. Times x minus 3 times x plus 3. And that is the whole factorization of that term. Questions on that? So always look and say, okay, I factored one thing out. If you're not done, you might have to do a little bit more factoring. All right, let's go to the next problem. Number 6, find the greatest common factor for 4m to the third n squared and 24m n to the third. Be sure to show your work. All right, well, let's just look at the numbers here first. I have 4 and 24. What's the greatest common factor of 4 and 24? 4. Yeah, again, always check your smallest number of the two. 4 divides into 4. 4 divides into 24. And here, they're just asking for the greatest common factor. I don't have to factor everything out, just the greatest common factor. All right, now let's look at the m. This has m to the third, and this has m to the first. Well, if I look at my smallest amount, what's the smallest amount that I can take from both? How many m's can I factor out?
4.
No.
Oh, 3.
Well, the first one I have 3, but the second one I only have 1.
Oh, yeah.
So I need to divide by 1.
Oh, you made a mistake.
How's that? I don't think so.
I just wanted
Not yet. It's early.
M3?
It is not M3. It is just M because the second term only has 1 M.
I was going for the lowest.
Yes, greatest common factor. The key word is common. It has to be common to both. So you can only take away 1 M and factor 1 M from the second term. All right, then I've got n squared and n to the third.
Do you put the 4? Let's see.
You don't have to. You can. But whenever you have a number with a variable, you assume it's multiplication. So n squared and n to the third. What's the greatest amount of n's I can take out of that? Factor out of it.
2.
2, right. So n squared and n squared. So here is your greatest common factor. They did not ask us to factor it, just the greatest common factor itself. Okay? Any questions on that? Blake, please put the phone away. Away. How about you engage and do this with us? Huh? You have it all done? How about you write down and make sure you've got the correct answers too? Just check them is what I'm saying. All right, so here we are going to factor 10r to the fourth s minus 25r squared s to the third. So the key word here is factor. But what do we have to do first? GCF. Okay, so looking at the numbers, 10 and 25, yeah, my greatest common factor is 5. 10 does not divide into 25 evenly, so divide by 5, divide by 5. 5 is what you are factoring out. 10 divided by 5 is 2. I'm going to leave some space because I might have some other things. Oh, I should have left some space here. 5, 2, I'm going to say minus 25 divided by 5 is 5. Okay. Now, let's take a look at the R. R. It's talk like a pirate day, isn't it? No. Stop. R to the fourth and R squared. What's the largest amount of R that I can factor out of both?
Yeah.
R squared. So R squared here, that gets factored out. So if I have 4 on top and 2 on the bottom, how many R's do I have to multiply? We take R to the 4 minus 2. When you divide, you subtract the exponents. So that becomes R squared. And over here, R squared divided by R squared is 1. So that's just 1. And let's look at our S's. We have, oh, I wanted red, an S here and S to the third. What's the greatest amount I can factor out of both? A single S. So factor out an S here. That goes out front. And S divided by S cancels out. That could be a times 1. S to the third divided by S. When you divide bases, you subtract the exponent. So this is x squared. So cleaning this all up would be 5r squared s times 2 6r squared minus 5s squared. Now, take a look at this. Is this a difference of two perfect squares? Well, it's definitely subtraction.
How do we get R2? S2.
How do we get R2, S2?
How do we get S2?
Right here, when we took s to the third divided by s, right here. That is s to the 3 minus 1, because you had 3 of them and you're taking away 1. So that leaves you with 2. So back to the difference of two perfect squares. There is subtraction. Here's an s squared, but 5 is not a perfect square. So this is not difference of two perfect squares. 2 is not a perfect square. So this is your final answer. 5r squared s times quantity 2r squared minus 5s squared. All right, looks like we have time for one more. So 3x to the 7th minus 27x to the 4th minus 3x squared. What do I need to do first? Says factor. So what do I do when I'm factoring first? Look for GCF. Do I have a GCF? Yeah.
That's called factor 3.
Okay, for the numbers, I've got a 3, a negative 27, and a negative 3. Always check the sign in front. It is positive, so 3 can divide into all of those. Now, we got to look at the x's too. I have an x to the 7th, x to the 4th, and an x squared. I kind of jumped the gun there. I should have put divided by 3, divided by 3, divided by 3. That's 3 divided by 3 is 1. Minus 27 divided by 3 is 9. Minus 3 divided by 3 is 1. All right, now let's look at the x's. So x to the 7th, x to the 4th, and x squared. How much can I take away from all of them that's common? 2, yes. So this becomes x squared dividing by x squared. So the x squared is the part of the greatest common factor. X to the 7th divided by x squared is x to the 7 minus 2, which is x to the 5th. Minus x to the 4th divided by x squared. X to the 4 minus 2 is x to the 2nd. And x squared divided by x squared, those cancel out. And we just have 1 left. So final answer is 3x squared times quantity x to the 5th minus 9x squared minus 1. We do not know how to factor x to the 5th power. If it was x squared, we would do and look at x box. But we have an x to the 5th. We don't know how to do that. All right. 1 down. Yes, you do have homework. Your homework is to try to work some more on this. I would avoid the probability just because we just did it. And I think that's pretty fresh in your mind. Try to do some of the other sections. Tomorrow, I'm going to start going over stuff quickly. Okay? Yes. I know you're shy.